Our next guest is a professor of theater at UBC, but he uses theater as a tool for research and social change. He raises awareness of veterans taken from Canada, dropped into brutal environments, then returned to their homes here in Canada, often given no support to make sense of their experiences. And I would like to acknowledge a number of veterans who are with us here tonight. We thank our next guest for using theater to teach us and them new ways of understanding ourselves and the world we live in. Please welcome George Belliveau.
Theater is often defined as a place to see, to hear, to feel, to witness, to question, and to safely witness the consequences of human behavior. And I'd like to add that theater is a place where we come together to share humanity. For the last 3 years, I've had the privilege of working on a collaborative project with military veterans and counselors. And in that project, we produced a play called Contact Unload, which toured extensively in Canada and the UK. But what I wanted to share tonight is the impact that that play and the creation of that work, working with these veterans, has had on me as an artist, as a researcher, but most importantly on me as a human being. As a father of 2 girls, a husband, a son, a brother, and most recently working with these military veterans, I've been wondering what it means to be a man. What does it mean to be a decent man? In this day and age, who are our models? I mean, who are your models? For the first 2 decades of my life, I identified myself as a hockey player. In the dressing room, I was surrounded by hyper-masculinity, and on the ice, it was about being tough and strong in a fast, physical game with other men. I mean, I dreamed of being a goalie in the NHL. I wanted to be Ken Dryden, because he was an athlete and a scholar. Well, I didn't make it to the NHL, but I did manage to play at the university level, where I traveled from hockey to theater dressing room, as I majored in acting at Dalhousie University. At the age of 18, as I made my way between those 2 drastically different worlds, I came to realize that there was a spectrum of men, and that performing one's masculinity is part of a continuum. I mean, I enjoyed the camaraderie and the brotherhood of my hockey teammates, but with my male acting friends, I felt more alive. I mean, I was exploring parts of myself that I never knew existed. So in my 2nd year university, I decided to hang up my hockey gear and commit myself fully to theater, much to my father's surprise. My brother Don, though, he got it, because at that point in his life, he was moving away from weightlifting and playing football and taking a new pathway by climbing in the mountains, from the Canadian Rockies to the Himalayas. But Dad, well, you see, to be a man is to play hockey. To be a man is to be tough and strong and reserved in emotion. To be a man is not to open oneself up and be vulnerable in front of others. I now work with military veterans, men in particular, men who were deployed overseas as peacekeepers. These men who risk their lives for the well-being of others represent for many of us the epitome of being a man. In my 3 years of working with these men, though, I've realized the various layers and levels of what it means to be a man. And being a man goes much deeper than the bravado, the uniform, and physical strength. Because these men I work with have seen and experienced things that hopefully many of us will never encounter. I mean, imagine having to decide whether or not to shoot a young Afghan boy who's coming towards your compound because he might be carrying explosive devices in his backpack, or holding on to your mate's shrapnel-filled body as he takes in his last breath. These men I work with have journeyed from war zones to counseling support and now to the theater, where they perform their lived experiences in our play called Contact Unload. And in the play, they share their stories of loss, of survivor's guilt, but they also bring to life the camaraderie, the brotherhood, as they come together to heal, to cope, and to reclaim parts of their souls. Souls that were fractured, or for some of them left overseas. As one of the vets says, you got to die when you join, so you don't fear dying when you're there. Well, it's not easy when you come back to try to reclaim your life. But nothing's the same here. Nothing makes sense. When I was there, I was something. When I'm here, I'm just dead inside. Our play, at the very beginning, shows these hyper-masculine men initially defying any kind of support. Hey, listen, I'm fucked up, but I'm not that fucked up. Or, there are guys that are way worse than I am. But gradually, with persistent persuasion from other vets, they step forward and they seek professional help in an attempt to literally, for some of them, save their lives. And here I am, as their director and co-actor in the play, and I'm witnessing this for 25 shows. And I'm in awe. Awe of their courage to be vulnerable, their courage to open themselves up and share these deeply personal injuries and then painfully work at stitching them, the pieces, back together so that they can live more fully. So what does it mean to be a man? Well, I never served in the military, so what did I really know about their struggles? I mean, the only weapon I've ever held is a wooden sword in a Shakespearean battle scene, or a hockey stick. But something inside me was happening as I watched them firsthand rebuild themselves in the company of their brothers. I was wrestling with my own identity as a father, as a son. My father, he grew up on a farm in eastern Canada. He was a hockey player, a weightlifter, a boxer. At age 18, my dad could bench press nearly 300 pounds. That's twice my weight. My dad is 74 now, and when we move furniture, Dad, he still takes the heavy end. But when my dad was 49, the age I'm now, he lost a son, my brother, Don, in a tragic mountain climbing accident. I was 27 at the time, and I had no idea how to grieve for my only brother, a best friend. But my dad, he showed me another way to be strong. He stood beside me, and with compassion, we grieved and we cried together, releasing, sharing the burden of our loss. Never alone. Never alone. That's the motto that the veterans I work with use. I've got your back in the battlefield and at home. Well, my dad, he saw the production of Contact Unload, and like many other men and women in the audience the night he was there, his eyes were filled with tears as he watched these 6 veterans stand side by side, hugging, singing, "Lean on Me." Well, men do cry, and they laugh. In fact, we have the spectrum of emotions available at our disposal. We just need the courage to act upon and release these emotions. So what does it mean to be a man? Well, for me, it means being true to myself and to those around me. Thank you.